I waive opening, Your Honor.
I'll waive.
Just a preliminary matter, Your Honor. I do have Petitioner's Exhibit 1 that I would like to offer into evidence pending any objections. It is a certified copy of the affidavit of relinquishment from Ms. Doring.
No objections, Your Honor. I've received a copy and I have no objections.
And it's admitted. Can you share it to the screen for me, please, Ms. Garcia, just so I can see it?
Yes. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
You can pause right there. Thank you. Can you scroll up just a little bit? Thank you. All right, and then back down to the next page. Then we need to just make sure that there's some testimony that Mr. Mining consents to it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Petitioner's 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Mr. Minen now.
May do so.
Mr. Minen, can you please state your full name for the record?
Blaine Minen.
And can you please state the name and age of the child involved in this case?
It's Adelia Doring. She's 9 years old.
And is it your understanding that Ms. Doring, Ms. Julie Doring, has signed an affidavit of voluntary relinquishment in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it your understanding that this relinquishment has been signed and filed with this court basically since the inception of this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And is the department, through Belong, willing to accept Ms. Doring's relinquishment today?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the department consent to Ms. Doring's relinquishment today?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you aware of whether Ms. Doring was able to meet with Ms. Pearsall to discuss the contents of that affidavit?
My understanding that she was able to.
And to your knowledge, did she sign it freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Okay. Was Ms. Doring given the opportunity to complete services to get Adelia back if she wished?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were those services that she was asked to do?
For Miss Doring, it would be engaging in individual therapy, as well as completing a NAMI parenting education program. For her resource management and basic needs, it would be staying in communication with Belong and meeting with us and providing proof of employment and household budgets. Miss Doring was also asked to complete a psychosocial assessment before starting therapy. And then it was asked of Miss Doring to participate in family therapy as well.
And were those services discussed and created in a family group conference?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Ms. Doring attend that family group conference?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it your understanding that she attended because she was ordered by the court to attend?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the context of her engagement in that family group conference?
She was present and engaged, not so much on creating the family plan and getting the tasks together, but more focused on not wanting to do the services, but she was there and she did participate.
And while this case has been going on, has she engaged in any services?
No, ma'am.
So she didn't participate in the making of her service plan exactly?
She was there, but she made it clear that she did not want to do any services.
If I can get an admonishment for Ms. Doring to restrain her reactions.
Yeah, Ms. Doring, you may hear things that you don't agree with, or you may hear something that you do agree with. In trial, the modicum of behavior is to just keep your reactions to yourself. Don't react to everything because it can be distracting. It can also be influential on somebody else. So if you could just, for lack of a better phrase, just keep a poker face throughout the entire proceeding, whether you agree or disagree with something. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. In your conversations with Ms. Doring, why didn't she want to engage in services?
It's my understanding that she does not want Adelia back.
And what concerns does Belong have with that?
Not being willing to be a parent to the child, not placing her in, I guess, situations that would be in her best interest, Adelia's best interest. I mean, it's concerning that a parent would not want a child back, and through that, the child shouldn't be in a home where the parent doesn't want her.
And what concerns does Belong have if Adelia was to return home to Ms. Doring?
We would have concerns that she would kind of revert back to how she was before she came into care. We would have concerns that she would be over-medicated, that she would be placed, like I said kind of earlier, placed in situations that would not be in her best interest.
And do you believe it's in her best interest to be returned to Ms. Doring?
No, ma'am.
Do you think that it's in Adelia's best interest for the court to accept Ms. Doring's relinquishment today?
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you believe that's in her best interest?
I think the sooner we can move on with establishing the process of getting permanency started for Adelia starts with obviously the termination of parental rights. Try to get her in a home where she can thrive and be wanted and find somewhere where she's loved.
And where is Adelia currently placed right now?
She is at a foster home in Houston.
And how is she doing in that placement?
She's doing very well.
And do you believe her needs can be better met where she is now currently?
I do.
And why do you believe that?
Since she has moved to this placement, she hasn't had any behavioral issues. There's been no issues reported at school. School reports that she's a very bright child and has been doing very well there. I went and saw Adelia last month and her foster mother as well. I spoke with her foster mother. She's had no problems with Adelia. Adelia keeps her room clean, no behavior issues, gets on top of her schoolwork. She's shown that she can thrive. She's involved in Girl Scouts. She's involved in dance classes. She's really doing well.
And do you believe it's in her best interest for the court to accept the relinquishment today so that we can make steps towards permanency for her?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you believe it's in Adelia's best interest to have the opportunity to be adopted by a family who can best meet her needs?
Yes, ma'am.
And can adoption occur if parental rights are still intact?
No, ma'am.
Are there any additional concerns or anything you think the court needs to be made aware of today?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Pearsall?
Ms. Doring provided folders and folders of information regarding this child to the department.
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
It's cross.
Overruled. She can ask that question.
Yes, ma'am.
And in that family group conference, she answered any and all questions about Adelia.
Yes, ma'am.
She provided all of her prior doctors and diagnosis and medications and school information.
I believe she provided what she had access to. I think there were a couple things that we had been waiting on, but she did provide.
So any and all information that could possibly benefit this child to be around this child has been provided to belong and prior to that to the department, correct? Mr. Minor?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. I don't know if it didn't pick me up there.
Okay. No other questions.
Harris?
Are you the primary caseworker for Adelia?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been assigned to this case?
Since the beginning of the case.
And does that mean that you've had the opportunity to visit Adelia and also to reach out to Ms. Doring?
Yes, ma'am.
So when did DFPS first become involved with Adelia?
I believe it was back in, it had been a while before the case came to us. I would need to go back and check the dates. Because I know there was involvement when I believe Adelia was at the hospital.
And so that's where Adelia was at when the case first came into DFPS?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, who had legal custody of the child?
I believe it was Miss Doring at the time.
And is she the sole adoptive parent?
That's my understanding.
And why did DFPS have to get involved while Adelia was at the hospital?
Miss Doring was refusing to pick up Adelia.
Who had taken Adelia to the hospital?
I believe it was Miss Doring.
Did Miss Doring indicate that she wanted CPS to take over Adelia?
It's my understanding that she did want that.
And did she express an intent not to resume care of Adelia at all?
Yes, I believe so.
Has she taken any steps to regain possession of Adelia since she was left at the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Has she made it clear that she wants to permanently sever her ties with Adelia?
Yes, ma'am.
Has she refused to have any contact with Adelia?
Yes, ma'am.
Has she refused to allow Adelia to have any contact with her brother?
Yes, ma'am.
Has she refused to complete any of the services that were offered to her?
Objection asked and answered.
Did you already ask that question, Ms. Harris? I don't recall
I
it.
did not.
I think you asked it, Ms. Pearsall, but I don't think she did. Overruled.
Has she been
Sorry.
willing to complete any of the services that were offered to her?
No, ma'am.
Has she been willing to have any visits with Adelia?
No, ma'am.
That is sustained. I think you did already ask that question.
Has she refused to have any phone calls with Adelia?
Correct.
Has she refused to allow Adelia to have any contact at all with her brother?
Correct.
Has Miss Doring provided any other possible family placements for Adelia?
Not to my knowledge.
Did Miss Doring provide Adelia's belongings?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she provide everything because she had no intent of Adelia returning?
That's my understanding.
Has she done anything to maintain insurance for Adelia?
Not to my knowledge.
Since providing the Adelia's belongings that she had at the time she was hospitalized, has Miss Doring provided anything else for Adelia?
Not to my knowledge.
Has she paid the child support that the court ordered her to pay?
I believe she has.
So how long has it been since Adelia saw her mother?
I believe it would have been before she was hospitalized, her most recent time.
Has Adelia been able to have any meaningful contact with any of the people that were in her life prior? Teachers, friends, extended family? Has she been able to have any meaningful contact with any of them?
Not contact. Her old church sent her a birthday gift, face-to-face contact or anything.
Did Miss Doring send her a birthday gift?
I don't believe so.
Did she send her a card?
I don't believe so.
So you testified previously that Adelia was hospitalized when CPS got involved. How many times has Adelia actually been hospitalized?
She has been hospitalized several times. Let me see if I can.
Does 13 sound correct?
That does sound correct.
And speculation.
No, she's on cross too. So overruled as to the leading.
I can Vardar to show that he's the custodian of the records.
Why
He
don't we?
said it, he testified it sounds right. He's not sure of the answer, and I can tell you he's giving a wrong answer. So he's speculating as to the number.
Then I would ask that he have an opportunity to review his notes, Judge.
And I would also object to relevance.
It goes to the grounds of
Overruled
duty.
as to relevance. He can take a minute to look at his notes. It's just whatever notes you're looking at. I don't know what they are, but your notes are subject to inspection or questioning.
Right now, I'm going through my status report from the status hearing judge.
If everybody's got a copy of that, you can read whatever you want from it.
I didn't find the information in there. I'm not sure what document it would be in for me to go look. I would have to do some more digging.
So if you don't have an exact number, was it more than 5?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it more than 10?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Generally.
He can testify as to what his memory is. You can cross him on it if you need to. Overruled.
Was it more than 10, sir?
I believe it was, but I would have to go back to make sure.
And these were mental health hospitals, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What diagnoses did Miss Doring say that Adelia had during the investigation, during Belong taking over, and during the family group conference? What did she say that is wrong with Adelia?
She had mentioned that Adelia had been diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome as well as premature hyperandrogenism. She reported that Adelia was given an exemption from vaccines due to a reported autoimmune disease. She also stated that Adelia was diagnosed with a malignant gut bacteria and that use of antibiotics could lead to death.
Did she also state that Adelia had reactive attachment disorder
I believe she did.
and autism?
Yes, ma'am.
Any kind of developmental brain abnormalities?
I believe so, but I would have to go back and check.
Has Belong been able to verify any of those diagnoses while Adelia has been in your care? Did the mother repeatedly present Adelia for medical issues that appeared to be exaggerated or fabricated?
Objection calls for speculation.
Rephrase.
Do you have concerns that Ms. Doring was exaggerating or fabricating Adelia's issues?
You know, I'm going to object to 1, speculation. 2, he's not a medical expert. He's not qualified to answer that question.
I'm asking what his concerns are, Your Honor. If Belong has concerns about that, they're having to proceed in treating and handling her. based on those concerns.
Except
Well-
he's not qualified to answer that.
Well, he's not qualified to make a medical diagnosis or give a medical answer, but he is the permanency specialist in this case, and his job is to oversee the care of this child. So you can voir dire him on his job and what he knows, Ms. Harris.
Mr. Minen, did you receive training for this job?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that training involve learning how to identify concerns in a home? And how long have you been doing this job?
I started this job in March of 2023.
And before that, did you get a degree?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your degree in?
It was a Bachelor of Science in Sociology from Texas A&M.
And do you feel like you use that in your daily job?
Yes, ma'am.
And as part of your job, do you review all the records that are provided to the department regarding this child?
Yes, ma'am.
And do those documents also include the quote, multiple notebooks that Ms. Doring provided?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've had the opportunity to look over all that paperwork?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've had the opportunity to review all the reports that Belong has received since she came into care?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've had the opportunity to be able to visit Adelia?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've observed her in the home where she's placed?
Yes, ma'am.
And based upon that, is part of that you looking at all of this collectively to determine what concerns are so that you can obtain adequate treatment for the child?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that in fact your responsibility?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all up, Judge.
All right. Objection's overruled. You can ask the first question again and he can answer it.
Are you concerned that Adelia's diagnoses were being over exaggerated or fabricated by the respondent mother?
Yes.
And why do you think that?
I think
I'm going to object again. This is complete speculation. Somebody who's in no way qualified to answer a question. He is not a doctor. He is not in any sort of medical field.
That's fine, Your Honor. I'll ask different questions.
Rephrase, sustain.
Has Adelia shown any signs of being autistic?
no.
Has she been diagnosed as autistic?
I don't believe there's been a formal diagnosis.
Has she shown any signs of reactive attachment disorder in her current placement?
I don't believe so, no.
She's actually pretty bonded, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Adelia has received antibiotics in the past, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she die from them?
No, ma'am.
Does she have any problems eating?
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge.
Does she have any problems taking medications?
Ms. Doring, I need you to keep your video on during the trial, please. Thank you. You can ask that question again, Ms. Harris.
Does she have any problem taking medications?
She knows how to take them and can follow that schedule.
They're not
but
making her sick though, right?
No, ma'am.
So you haven't seen anything that would support any kind of gut problem, correct? I'm sorry, I didn't get your answer.
Oh, sorry. I said no, not to my knowledge.
Okay. And she's been to a doctor, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She being treated for any of that stuff?
No, not to my knowledge.
How many medications was she on when she came into your care?
She was on quite a few. If I remember correctly, it was around 6 when she had first came in.
How many medications is she?
She is currently on 0.
And is that with the full oversight of a medical professional?
Correct.
And she's not demonstrating any problems, even though she's not taking any medications?
No, ma'am. She's doing very well.
Did Miss Doring even allege that Adelia was a psychopath at the family group conference?
I believe she did.
Has she been diagnosed as a psychopath?
No.
Have you received any reports of her displaying psychopathic behavior?
Only incidents listed in the affidavit.
Nothing since she's been in the care of Belong?
No, ma'am.
And what grade is Adelia in?
I believe she's in 3rd grade.
Is she receiving any kind of special education services?
She is receiving 504 services.
And what is that for?
It is for like extended time in the classroom working on tests. She can take tests and exams in small groups as well. She is able to use like I forget what they're called, counting tools to help her with math as well. She gets to speak with teachers about staying on task, and she gets to stay close to them.
And is
She
all
get-
of that meeting her needs?
Yes, it is.
And are there any concerns about her grades?
No,
Are there any concerns about her being behind?
no. Her foster mother reports that she's very on top of her schoolwork.
Have there been any reports of her being violent with her foster mother or foster siblings?
No, ma'am.
Have there been any reports of her being violent with anyone since she's been in the care of Belong?
Correct.
That was unclear. She asked, are there any reports of her being violent with anyone? What would your answer to that sub part of the question be, Mr. Mining?
For anyone, there were reports in the past.
Were those by Miss Doring?
Yes.
Have there been any reports of her displaying violent behavior towards anyone since she has been in the care of Belong?
No, ma'am.
Is Adelia in individual counseling?
Yes.
Do you receive regular reports?
We're trying to get them from the child placement agency right now. It's been kind of a struggle to get documentation from them, but we are working on it.
Have you received any reports that there are concerns about her therapy?
No, ma'am.
Was she in individual therapy when she came into the care of Belong?
I'm not sure about that.
Prior to this case being filed, do you know if investigations worked with Miss Doran to try and get Adelia back home?
It was my understanding from the affidavit that they were trying to do that.
Did you get a chance to look at all the documents that Miss Doran handed over?
I have reviewed them. I'm not sure that I would remember everything, though.
Were the majority of them paperwork from the multiple hospitalizations?
Yes.
Have there been any psychiatric hospitalizations since she's been in Belong's care?
No, ma'am.
Have emergency personnel been called by Belong or the foster parent while she's been in Belong's care?
No, ma'am.
Have the police had to go to the foster home to deal with Adelia?
No, ma'am.
Would you consider her behaviors stable?
Yes.
And when was her most recent psychological evaluation?
It was completed on
Approximate is fine.
October 9th.
Just a second, Judge. I apologize. I'm reviewing my notes.
It's okay.
Based on your observations in the records, do you believe that Adelia was exposed to emotional or physical danger because of all of the hospitalizations?
I'm going to object to speculation, no knowledge.
Rephrase.
Have you seen anything since Belong has been the caregiver for Adelia that would indicate any need for multiple hospitalizations?
No, ma'am.
Have you seen any behavior similar to what Ms. Doring alleged?
No, ma'am.
Has there been any reports of her being violent or uncontrollable?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Overruled. She's already proved him up as a custodian.
Have there been any reports of her being violent or uncontrollable?
Since being
In
in care, no.
Are mother's prior reports of Adelia consistent with anything Belong has seen since she has been in your care?
No, ma'am.
Has she been suspended, expelled, or removed from any?
No, ma'am.
Is this the only placement she's been in?
Yes, ma'am.
And this placement has not asked to have her discharged, have they?
No, ma'am.
Is it an adoptive placement?
It is not. I spoke with the foster mother. She has already adopted several other children that came in through care. She did say that she has family members that are also licensed foster homes. And
So we're not.
I'm sorry, Mr. Minion, I didn't hear you answer. You stopped.
I didn't
I
hear
think,
anything.
yeah, he cut out at the end. What did you say at the end?
did y'all hear the part about the foster mother has relatives that
That's
are
what we heard, and
licensed?
then we lost you.
Okay. Okay. They have met Adelia, those relatives, and might possibly be interested in adoption. So that could be an avenue that we pursue permanency through.
So she is not close to being adopted at this point, correct?
No, ma'am.
We have to find a placement and then she's got to be there for 6 months.
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever had the opportunity to observe Miss Doring interacting with Adelia?
I have not.
So are you able to give any opinion on whether her interaction with Adelia was ever appropriate?
I cannot.
Generally, does Belong consider it dangerous for a parent to exaggerate or fabricate medical issues?
Objection, relevance, and assuming facts not in evidence.
Overruled.
Can you ask it again, please?
Does Belong generally consider it dangerous for a child when a parent exaggerates or fabricates medical issues?
Yes, ma'am.
Based upon your entire review of the record, based upon your training, based upon your experience at Belong, do you think that Ms. Doring's actions interfered with Adelia receiving accurate diagnoses and proper care?
Objection, Your Honor. He is not qualified in any way, shape, or form to answer that, and it calls for speculation.
How is he not qualified to answer that question?
It requires him to be capable of forming a correct medical diagnosis and then determine whether she was or was not misdiagnosed by professional doctors who in fact diagnosed her, not the
I
mother.
think she just asked if he had concerns. I mean, he's testified that he's qualified to identify concerns, and he's got training and education to identify concerns when it comes to child welfare. Overruled. You can ask your question again.
Are you concerned that Ms. Doring's actions interfered with Adelia receiving accurate diagnoses and proper care?
Yes, ma'am.
In your opinion, has she been significantly safer, healthier, and more stable since placement in her current place?
Objection, calls for speculation. He's never seen her in any other place.
Sustained. Rephrase.
You testified previously that Adelia had multiple hospitalizations, correct? And she hasn't had those since she's been in Belong's care, right?
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
So based upon the fact that there were multiple prior hospitalizations and none have occurred, do you believe that indicates that Adelia is safer, healthier, and more stable since being in Belong's care?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Comparing apples with oranges.
Overruled. She reworded it. It's okay. You can answer it.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that Ms. Doring's behavior and conduct endangered Adelia's physical or emotional well-being?
Objection, Your Honor. No personal knowledge.
Overruled. She's established a predicate. She can ask that question. Overruled.
Can I ask a question?
No, ma'am.
Sorry, Miss Harris. Can you repeat that?
Based upon your review of the record, treatment or care of Adelia, everything that you've learned in your position, do you believe that Ms. Doring's conduct endangered Adelia's physical or emotional well-being?
And
Yes, ma'am.
Object again that he's not qualified to answer that question.
No,
And
he
Your Honor-
already answered the question.
Is it in Adelia's best interest for her mother's rights to be terminated?
Yes,
That's what Ms. Doring wants, correct?
correct.
Has Ms. Doring ever wavered from that?
No.
Would she be at risk if she were returned to her mother?
Objection,
I believe-
calls for speculation.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily speculative, but I think I've already gotten that information. Sustained.
Are there any options short of termination available in this case?
I don't believe so.
And if I can have one more moment just to make sure I asked all my questions, Judge,
That's fine.
I'll pass the witness.
I just want to do a quick check-in here. It's 11:09. We started at 10:20, I think. So I'm going to at least let it go until then. Is there any foreseeable chance that we're going to get done today?
I don't think so, Judge.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Mr. Minen at this time?
Yes, Your
No,
Honor.
Your Honor.
Who said yes? Ms. Garcia?
Ms. Pearsall. Ms. Garcia said no.
Did you say yes?
I said yes.
Okay. Then why don't we go ahead and spend the next several minutes working to conclude Mr. Minen's testimony for now. Miss Greenlee, can you give me a date sometime? I guess, I don't know if we're going to have anything in December. We can look, or shortly after the first of the year, to come back and conclude this trial. Probably be looking at a 2 or 3 hour block. I'm not sure exactly how long you need, but let's just try to find something there. All right, go ahead, Miss Pearsall.
Just so Ms. Greenlee is aware, while she's looking, one of my witnesses has recently had knee surgery and she's immobile, so she has to testify by Zoom.
If she's got an injury, I'll allow that.
Okay. Mr. Minen, who else lives in Adelia's current foster home? And I'm not asking for names. I'm just asking for like sex and ages.
Several other children. I want to say there's 4 or 5 other children there.
And are they older or younger than Adelia? It's relevant as to the type of
Yeah, I think you opened the door enough for her to get into this a little bit. I'll allow it. Overruled.
I believe it's a mix of ages. I believe there's some that are younger and some that are older.
How old are they?
I'm not sure their exact ages.
Is that something you can follow up on?
I can, yes.
And as far as adults, who are the adults in that foster home?
I believe it's just Miss Holbert.
So just a foster mother?
Yes, ma'am.
No other adults live in that home?
I don't believe so.
You said Adelia's psychological was completed on October 9th.
Yes, ma'am.
What was she diagnosed with?
Her diagnoses were ADHD, combined presentation, unspecified depressive disorder, neurodevelopmental disorder associated with prenatal alcohol and or drug exposure, borderline intellectual functioning, and then child neglect.
So some of the same diagnoses that Ms. Doring shared with Belong, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You already testified that Ms. Doring paid child support as court ordered?
Yes, I believe so.
And specifically, she paid $1,773.91, correct?
I believe so.
In addition to providing all of the child's clothes and belongings and toys and everything else, she also went out and bought her brand new Crocs and Skechers and provided those after their removal, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as far as the multiple diagnoses that Ms. Doring shared with the department, every one of those diagnoses were in the medical records provided to Belong, correct?
Yes.
And every one of those diagnoses were made by a medical doctor or a psychiatrist, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So none of those diagnoses came from the mother. They came from the medical professionals who have treated this child for years, correct?
Yes.
When the child is taken to a hospital, there's a decision to admit or not admit a child to a psychiatric hospital made by a medical professional at the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. A person who brings in the child doesn't get to make that determination, correct? We didn't hear you, Mr. Minor.
No, ma'am.
And from reviewing the hospital admission records, a good portion of the time, mother wasn't taking this child to the hospital. The police department was bringing this child to the hospital. Isn't that true?
Yes, I believe so.
So not only was mother not the one deciding whether to admit her or not, she wasn't even the one transporting her, correct?
On different occasions, yes, I believe so.
Okay. And in order to receive 504 services as a child, you have to have a qualifying condition for those 504 services, correct?
I believe so.
So what is this child's underlying conditions that qualify her for special education?
HD.
Anything
You
else?
broke up. Can you repeat your answer, please, Mr. Minor?
Sorry, I said her ADHD.
Are there any other diagnoses contained in her 504 plan?
That is what they included in her 504 plan for why she gets the services.
My question was, is that the only diagnosis that's included in her plan?
I believe so, yes.
No other questions?
I do have a little bit of follow-up, Judge. Sorry.
All right. You got about 5 minutes.
Okay. Were you able to review the medical records regarding all of the hospitalizations that Ms. Doring provided?
Yes, ma'am.
Was the majority of those based upon reporting by Ms. Doring?
Yes, ma'am.
And was Ms. Doring trying to get Adalia into long-term mental health care at a hospital?
That was my understanding.
Did she ever tell Adalia that?
I'm not sure about that.
Did she ever talk about it in front of Adalia?
I would have to go back
and
and
answer.
In response.
No, I'll move on, Judge.
All right.
Did Ms. Doring provide recordings of some of her calls to the police?
I don't remember.
You said that a lot of these diagnoses were supported by medical professionals. Were there any concerns about any of those medical professionals?
Yes.
What were your concerns?
Objection, Your Honor.
Your Honor, it goes to the validity of these diagnoses that she's throwing around.
It goes to hearsay and his lack of basis to form opinions about other medical professionals. He's not a medical professional.
She doesn't know. She hasn't even given him a chance to explain what the concerns are. That would explain where he gets the knowledge from.
Because they would be hearsay wherever he gets them from.
How could, I mean, it could be personal knowledge. I don't know what he's looked into. I don't know what he's seen. I don't want Mr. Minen to testify as any hearsay information or get into the area of making an evaluation about a medical professional based off any speculation. But I would like to know what his concerns were. So I'm going to allow him to answer the question. And then if I need to stop the testimony based on your objection, I will. So you can start answering that, Mr. Minen.
Okay. My concerns were with the doctor that I believe granted her the vaccine exemption. He had his medical license
Objection.
revoked.
Well, I mean, he got the answer out, and I think that that's completely relevant to the issue. It's how did you find out that he got his medical license revoked?
It was published online.
Which would be the definition of hearsay.
But is it published online through what?
I think it was just a website, a news website. I would have to go back and look to be certain.
So you didn't get this information from a valid state website?
I don't think it was from the state.
It would see a Texas doctor?
I believe he was a California doctor.
So you weren't looking at a state of California official website for who's eligible to practice medicine in California. You were just on a website.
I believe so, yes.
All right. So let the record reflect that I'm going to give the weight of that testimony, taking into consideration that it was not an official state record. So, I mean, I already heard it, but for your sake, Ms. Pearsall, unless they could provide an official state record, that's the only weight I'm going to give it is that he saw it online.
Is that the doctor that made the majority of the diagnoses for?
I'm going to object to.
You're muted.
I'm going to object to one hearsay and two no knowledge, Your Honor.
There are documents that Miss Doring provided, and she also stated it to the parties at our family group conference.
All right.
Let me
ask a question. When you said that these are documents that she provided, were they in these folders?
Yes, they were, Judge.
And have we already established that these folders are part of the file?
Yes, Judge.
And we've already established that Mr. Minen is a custodian of the records, which includes those files?
Yes, Judge.
And so that's already done, and there were no objections at that time. We've already made that establishment. The court's already made him a custodian, so that's overruled. She can ask that question.
Did the majority of the diagnoses that Miss Doring identified come from the doctor whose license is suspended?
That was my understanding.
That's all my questions, Judge.
We're going to
I'm sorry, one more, Your Honor.
Just barely made it.
Sorry, the diagnosis in her recent psychological that indicated that there was some fetal exposure to drugs or alcohol. Was that based upon Miss Doring's report?
I would have to go through and find exactly in the psychological where they mentioned it.
Okay, has Belong been able to independently verify in any way that Adelia was exposed to drug or alcohol exposure by her birth mother?
No, I don't believe so.
That's all, Judge.
We're going to recess. Let me bring those witnesses back in. It was Ryan West, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Megan Proctor, Miss Harding. If you've been brought back in, it's because we are not going to be able to finish today. Court's recessing the case, and we're going to come back and conclude this trial January 14th at 9:30. I'm going to give it 3 hours. So whatever you need to get on the record, whatever witnesses you need there, make sure they're prepared at 9:30. Any objection to the court continuing this trial on Zoom, or do you want it in person?
No objection to Zoom, Your Honor.
No objection.
Then we'll be back on January the 14th at 9:30 by Zoom on the Wednesday docket link. If you were subpoenaed to be here today, the court is holding over your subpoena. This means that you will not get another notice or another subpoena prior to January 14th. You're here in open court, and I'm holding over your subpoena, which requires you to be here January 14th in this docket link at 9:30. And then just for housekeeping purposes in the future, The only thing the court will ever read in the chat function is a message from my coordinator, and I can see who they're from. If a litigant puts a message in the chat box, I will not look at it. So let's refrain from doing that. She deletes them before I can even see them. That's ex parte communication. We can't do that. Any other housekeeping issues we need to take up before we adjourn for the day? Well, okay. I'll see you all on January 14th at 9:30 on this link. If nothing further, all parties are excused.
Termination of parental rights cases are among the most serious proceedings in family court because they permanently affect the legal relationship between a parent and a child. Courts must carefully weigh the evidence, the child's well-being, and long-term stability before making a final decision. In this hearing, testimony focused on the child's current stability and placement and the mother's voluntary relinquishment, but the trial is still ongoing with additional witnesses scheduled. If you enjoy clear breakdowns of real courtroom cases and legal proceedings, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos.